Sade Gaurava. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 24, Text 62. Continuing to read the prayers chanted by Lord Shiva in the glorification of Lord Krishna. Kriya kalaperidam eva yogina.
क्रियाकलापैरिदम् एव योगिना
Shraddhanvita sadhu yajanti siddhaye.
श्रद्धान्विता साधु यजन्ति सिद्धये
Bhutendriyanta karanopalakshitam.
भूतेन्द्रियान्तः करणोपलक्षितम्
Vede cha tantre cha ta eva kovida.
वेदे तन्त्रे च एवं
My dear Lord, your translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. My dear Lord, your universal form consists of all 5 elements: the senses, mind, intelligence, false ego, which is material, and the Paramatma, your partial expansion, who is the director of everything. Yogis, other than the devotees, namely the Karma Yogi and Gyan Yogi, worship you by their respective actions in their respective positions. It is stated both in the Vedas and in the Shastras that are corollaries of the Vedas, and indeed everywhere, that it is only you who are to be worshipped. That is the expert version of all the Vedas. In a previous verse, Lord Shiva wanted to see the form of the Lord, which the devotees are always interested in. There are other forms of the Lord manifest in the material world, including Brahma and other demigods, and these are worshipped by materialistic persons. In the second canto, third chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that those who desire material benefits are recommended to worship different types of demigods. And in conclusion, the Bhagavatam recommends Akama Sarva Kamo Va Moksha Kama Udaradi Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajeta Purusham Param. Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 3, Text 10. The devotees, the jnanis, who are known as Moksha Kama, and the karmis, who are known as Sarva Kama, are all aspiring to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Even when one performs yagyas, as stated here, Kriya Kalape, you should always remember that the demigods are but agents of the Supreme Lord. Actually, the worshipful Lord is Vishnu, Yageshwar. Thus, even when different demigods are worshipped in the Vedic and Tantric sacrifices, the actual goal of sacrifice is Lord Vishnu. So, who is the goal of sacrifice? Who is the enjoyer of all sacrifices?
Krishna.
Yeah, Krishna or Lord Vishnu. So, even if we worship the demigods, they take their share of sacrifice only after first offering it to Lord Vishnu. The demigods are they are great personalities. They are put in the charge of the different management affairs of the administration of the universe. Great personalities, and they all understand that they are working for Krishna. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita 9:23, it is said, Yepi anya devata bhakta yajante shraddhayanvita tepi mam eva kaunteya yajanti avidi purvakam. Whatever a man may sacrifice to other gods, O son of Kunti, is really meant for me alone, but is offered without true understanding. Thus, the worshippers of various demigods also worship the Supreme Lord, but they do so against the regulative principles. The purpose of the regulative principles is to satisfy Lord Vishnu. So all sacrifices are meant for satisfaction of Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna. When we are worshipping the demigods, we are actually going against the principles. But the demigods, because they understand their position, they do not take their share first. They first offer it to Krishna and then they take their share. So the worshippers of the demigods are also worshipping Lord Krishna, but indirectly, not directly. Whereas we are recommended to take up direct service of Krishna, directly coming under the protection of Krishna. No need to go via. When we have a direct connection, the communication is easier, things get done faster, less time and energy is involved. In the Vishnu Puran 389, the very same thing is confirmed. Varna Sharmacha Ravata Purushena Parapuman Vishnur Aradhyate Pantha Nanya Tato Shakaranam. Here it is clearly mentioned that the karmi, jnani, or yogi, in fact, everyone worships Lord Vishnu if he is actually expert in knowledge of the Vedas and Tantras. The word Kovida is very significant, for it indicates the devotees of the Lord. Only the devotees know perfectly that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu is all pervading. Within the material energy, he is represented by the 5 material elements, as well as the mind, intelligence, and ego. He is also represented by another energy, the living entities. And all these manifestations in the spiritual and material world combined are but representations of the different energies of the Lord. The conclusion is that the Lord is one and that he is expanded in everything. This is understood by the Vedic version. Sarvam Kalav Idam Brahma. One who knows this concentrates all his energy in worshipping Lord Vishnu. So when we are saying, that the earth, air, fire, water, mind, intelligence, false ego, these are representations of Krishna. What does it mean? How do we understand it? How do we understand these 5 material elements? They are representatives of Krishna. Also the mind, intelligence, and ego. Also the living entities. How do we understand the relationship between living entities and Krishna, the material energy and Krishna?
They are all
water,
energies, right?
Yes, that's right. We are all Krishna's energies. We belong to Krishna. That's right.
Yeah, we part and parcel. Krishna.
Yes, that's right.
Right.
We, the living entities. Living entities are part and parcel of Krishna. The material energy is separated energy of Krishna. Krishna does not personally associate with material energy, but she is one of his energies. That's why it said he is represented, because we are all energies of Krishna. So if we are energy of Krishna, does it mean that we have no individuality, the living entity?
We do have individual.
I'm sorry.
We do have, right? Individuality.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. Yeah, because when we speak of energy, we may say, oh, it's just light or something that I can feel or, something vague. But no, we are individuals. We are individual souls. And every soul has an individual spiritual form. In the spiritual world, everyone has a spiritual form. Like here in the material world, we have material form. This body is also energy of Krishna, no? It's different combination of earth, water, air, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. These elements are differently combined. So this body is also energy of Krishna, belongs to Krishna. Is that okay?
Yeah, it is the inferior energy in the material world, right? Our body
That's right.
is
Yes. Why is it
made
inferior?
of it. Because
Why is it?
because we are made up of the 5 material elements.
That's
We are,
right.
yeah, mind,
Yes.
intelligence, and ego.
Yes. And so why is this material energy called inferior? Why the material elements are called inferior? Why is the living entity called superior? The soul. Why is the soul
Because we are
superior?
marginal.
Because we are conscious.
Conscious.
Yeah, we are conscious. Yes.
We have consciousness. You see, we are conscious that, oh, I am here right now, or, I am existing. Somebody comes and pinches us, we'll really feel it. But if you do that to the chair or a laptop, or, nothing's gonna happen. Sure, it will break. The laptop will break, but it can't feel anything. The earth, water, air, fire, they're not conscious. But the soul, the soul are conscious. We have that, yes, I'm existing. We have, I'm a part and parcel of Krishna, or I'm the material body, whatever. Right now, our consciousness is I'm the material body. So that's the difference between the soul and the material energy. And the material energy, it appears to be moving, Our body is moving, right? Appears to be living. But it's moving only because the soul is inside. Once the soul leaves, it's dead. We may think, oh, the clouds are moving in the sky, the air is blowing, the fire, there's movement, the water, there's movement. But all these movements are there because the Paramatma is there. Otherwise, the material energy cannot move by itself. Like a plane cannot fly by itself, it just sits there. Unless somebody actually pushes a button. So the soul or the super soul, because of that, there is movement of the material energy. Otherwise, material energy cannot move. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So it is the chit, is it? Chit.
Which one?
Chit. They say, no, like, because
Chit?
chit is there, conscious, is it? Consciousness.
Oh, the entity, the living entity.
Yeah.
We have. Yeah,
No.
yeah, we have consciousness. That's right.
Okay.
Tvam eka adya purusha supta shaktis.
Tvam
Adya Purusha Shukta
Shaktis
Tayaraja sattva tamave videyate.
तया रजसत्तमो विद्यते
Aham kham marudagnivardhara.
Maha
महानहं खं
Marudal
मरुदग्निवर्धनः
Sudarshaya bhutagana idam yata.
भूतगणा इदं
Yata.
Dear Lord, you are the only Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. Before the creation of this material world, your material energy remains in a dormant condition. When your material energy is agitated, the three qualities, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, act. And as a result, the total material energy, egotism, ether, air, fire, water, earth, and all the various demigods and saintly persons becomes manifest. Thus, the material world is created. So, Lord Shiva is saying to Krishna, you are the cause of all causes. As Lord Brahma says, Sarva Karana Karanam. Lord Shiva is saying the same thing. And he's saying, your material energy. Lord Shiva, he's the husband of the material energy, but he understands this material energy belongs to Krishna. Your material energy. Okay. So thus the material world is created by the agitation of the three modes after Lord Vishnu glances. If the whole creation is one, that is nothing but the Supreme Lord of Vishnu, then why do the expert transcendentalists make such categories as are found in the above verse? Why do learned and expert scholars distinguish between matter and spirit? In answer to these questions, Lord Shiva says that spirit and matter are not creations of various philosophers, but are manifested by Lord Vishnu as described in this verse. Tvam Eka Adya Purusha. Spiritual and material categories are made possible by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But actually, there are no distinctions for the living entities who are eternally engaged in the service of the Lord. There's only a material world for those who want to imitate the Lord and become enjoyers. Indeed, the material world is nothing but forgetfulness of the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the creator of everything. So we have forgotten Krishna. That's why we are in the material world. When we can understand everything belongs to Krishna, then there is no more Maya. What does Maya do? It's like, like how a cloud covers our vision of the sun. When it's a cloudy day, we can't see the sun. So it doesn't mean the sun does not exist. What the cloud is doing, the cloud is covering our vision of the sun. When the cloud is removed, we can see the sun properly. Similarly, our forgetfulness of Krishna, that is Maya. But when we understand everything has a relationship with Krishna, then there is no more Maya. Then we see everything as belonging to Krishna. That's the vision of the pure devotee. The distinction between matter and spirit is created by the sleeping energy of the Lord. When the Lord wants to give some facility to those living entities who want to imitate the Lord in his enjoyment, it is only for them that this material world is created by the dormant energy of the Lord. For instance, sometimes children want to imitate their mother and cook in the kitchen. And at such a time, the mother supplies them with some toys so that the children can imitate her cooking. Similarly, when some of the living entities want to imitate the activities of the Lord, this material cosmic manifestation is created for them by the Lord. So why does the Lord create the material world? We say, oh, why am I put here in the material world? Why did the Lord create the material world? What does Bhagavatam explain to us?
Because we have forgotten Krishna and because we want to enjoy just like him. So this is why we have been put.
Because we
This-
desire, that's our desire to come here.
Our desire. Yeah, our desire to enjoy separate from Krishna. You see, enjoying spirit is there in us, every soul. Anandamaya Vyasa. We want to enjoy. But when we want to enjoy separate from Krishna, we want to imitate Krishna. Our desire is that I want to imitate Krishna. So we can't do that in the spiritual world. So Krishna sends us here in the material world to pretend. Like the mother is cooking, the child wants to cook, so she gives some toys. So the child is pretending that she's cooking or he's cooking. So here we are pretending that we are God here, if we may say that. Imitating. So this is the facility that is given to us. Krishna gives us this facility by the agency of the material energy. The material creation is therefore caused by the Lord through his material energy. It is by the glance of the Lord that the material energy is activated. At that time, the three material qualities are set into motion, and the material energy is manifested first in the form of the Mahatattva, then egotism, then ether, then air, fire, water, and earth. So when Mahavishnu is there, the material energy is sleeping, nothing is there. Then he looks at the material energy, and then there's modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance. There's agitation. When there's agitation, the Mahatattva is created. From Mahatattva, there is the false ego. Then gradually comes ether, air, fire, water, earth. So we can see that it's from the most subtle to the most gross. That's how the creation is happening. So the material energy of Krishna, she's eternal. But the manifestation of the energy, this creation of the universe, sometimes it happens, sometimes doesn't happen. It's temporary. But the material energy of Krishna, she's eternal. She belongs to Krishna. She always exists. Not that once the universe is annihilated, material energy does not exist. No, she exists. Because she is Krishna's energy. So after the creation, the living entities are impregnated in the cosmic manifestation, and they emerge as Lord Brahma and the 7 great rishis, then as different demigods. From the demigods come human beings, animals, trees, birds, beasts, and everything else. The original cause, however, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as we are verified herein from Eka Adya Purusha. So Krishna, he creates this material world. And how do we living entities, the spirit souls, come inside this material world? How are we put here?
Lord Brahma,
I'm sorry?
through Lord Brahma. I mean, of course, the soul, the living entities are put, right, are impregnated in the cosmic.
Yeah, but who puts us here in this material world? How do we come here?
Through the elements.
The Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu puts us here. We are all sleeping in the body of Mahavishnu. Then, when the material world is created, then again we are put inside this material world by the glance of Mahavishnu. When he sees the material energy, he puts us all inside here in the material world. And Lord Brahma, he gives us the different bodies. But Lord Brahma cannot create the soul. We, the souls, are put inside here by Mahavishnu. Is an expansion of Krishna. Is that okay?
Yes.
This is also confirmed in Brahma Samhita 5.1. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karana. Those who are covered by the material energy cannot understand that the origin of everything is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. This is summarized in the Vedanta aphorism Janmadi Asya Yata Vedanta Sutra 1.1.2. So we are not able to understand how Krishna is Sarva Karana Karanam. But this is what all the scriptures are saying. Lord Brahma is saying, pure devotees are saying, Lord Śiva himself is saying here. All the Vedas are saying, Krishna is Sarva Karana Karanam. Origin of everything is Krishna. Like, for example, we buy something. We buy a laptop. We want to see which factory has made it. What's the brand? We understand there has to be a creator. So if we do research work, who's the creator of this material world? When we do research, who's our father? We'll come to Lord Brahma. Then We ask Lord Brahma, who's your father? He says, Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Lord Govinda. He says, Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karan. That Krishna is the cause of all causes. So Krishna is the origin of everything and everyone. He's the origin of the material world, the material elements. He's the origin of the living entities. Krishna also confirms this in Bhagavad Gita 10.8. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. No one else can say such a thing. No one else says this. Only Krishna says. Why? Because he is. He is. All the material and spiritual worlds are coming from him. He's saying, I am the source of all the spiritual and material worlds. This is his words in Bhagavad Gita. He's saying, everything is coming from me. And one who understands this, then what does he do? He engages in devotional service. He worships Krishna because he understands that Krishna is the supremely worshipable Lord of everyone. That each of us have a loving relationship with Krishna. When Krishna says that he's the origin of everything, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, he means that he is even the source of Lord Brahma, Lord Śiva, the Purusha avatars, the material manifestation, and all the living entities within the material world. So, who is the source of Lord Śiva?
Lord Krishna.
Yes. And the source of Lord Brahma?
Lord Krishna.
Who's the source of Mahavishnu?
He is the origin.
But whose expansion? Where does Mahavishnu come from?
From Krishna.
Krishna, yes. Who's the origin of the material world?
Lord Krishna.
Yeah. Yes. Krishna is the source. From him everything is coming. From whom everyone is coming. So actually the word Prabhava creation refers only to this material world. For since the spiritual world is eternally existing, there is no question of creation. So, but why does the spiritual world exist? Because of Krishna. Krishna is the origin. Even though the spiritual world is eternally existing, it is eternally existing because Krishna is eternally existing. So Krishna is the cause of all causes. Sarva Karana Karana. Is the origin of everything. The spiritual world, there is no creation. Why? Because it's never annihilated. Just like for the soul, there is no birth. Why? Because it can never die. The soul is eternal. We are existing eternally. This is the body that is being born and dying. And we are mistaking ourselves to be the body. The soul is eternal. Similarly, the spiritual world is also eternal. In the Chatushloki of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord says, Aham evasam evagre. I was existing in the beginning before the creation. Bhagavatam 2.9.33. In the Vedas, it is also said, Eko Narayana Asat. Before the creation, there was only Narayan. This is also confirmed by Shankaracharya. Narayana Paro Vyakta. Narayan is transcendental to the creation. Gita-Verse, since all the activities of Narayan are spiritual, when Narayan said, let there be creation, that creation was all spiritual. The material only exists for those who have forgotten that Narayan is the original cause. So Maya means our forgetfulness of Krishna. That is Maya. Maya means when we are thinking that something has no connection to Krishna, no relation to Krishna. That is Maya. That anything can exist without relationship to Krishna. That is Maya. Is that okay? So Krishna exists before the creation. You know, like the potter creates a pot. So the pot is not there, but the potter is there, and the potter is creating the pot. So Krishna exists before the creation. Shishtam swashaktyedamanu pravishtash
Shrishtam swasvedam anupravechtas
chaturvidam puramatmam shakena
chaturvidam shakena
ato vidustam purusham shantamantar
अथो विदुस्तं पुरुषं
punkte rishike madusaragam yaha.
kunti rishi madhusaragamya.
My dear Lord, after creating by your own potencies, you enter within the creation and four kinds of forms. Being within the hearts of the living entities, you know them and know how they are enjoying their senses. The so-called happiness of this material creation is exactly like the bee's enjoyment of honey after it has been collected in the honeycomb. The material cosmic manifestation is an exhibition of the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But because dull matter cannot work independently, the Lord Himself enters within this material creation in the form of a partial expansion Paramatma. And He enters also by His separated parts and parcels, the living entities. So this material world is an external energy of Krishna, inferior energy. But as we said, like the pilot, the plane cannot fly by itself, need a pilot. So this material energy appears to be moving, no, but actually it can't. It's because the Paramatma has entered into every atom of this universe. And that's the reason it appears to be moving. The clouds appear to be moving, the wind is blowing, the water is flowing, But otherwise, this material world cannot work independently. And Krishna, as Paramatma, is also entering into the heart of every living entity. So He's there sitting in our heart. So there are so many billions and billions of living entities. And how many Paramatma are there?
There's only one.
Yeah, that's right.
One
There's only one.
Paramatma, everyone, every entity.
That's right. There's only one Paramatma. Thank you. In other words, both the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead enter into the material creation just to make it active. Yeah, just to make it active. Like a building can't move, Really, a building can't move. But then the elements are made in such a way to make it into an aeroplane, and then the aeroplane can fly. But because the soul, the living entity, is doing this manipulation. Otherwise, the material energy cannot move by herself. The Paramatma is there. That's the reason it moves, and because of the souls, we, the living entities. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.5, Aparayam itastva anyam prakritim vidime param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharayate jagat. Besides this inferior nature, O mighty Arjuna, there is a superior energy of mind which consists of all living entities who are struggling with the material nature and are sustaining the universe. So Krishna is telling Arjuna that the material energy is his inferior energy and the superior energy is the jivas, the living entities. And we are here inside the material world struggling because we are trying to imitate to be the Lord. We are trying to imitate Krishna. And because we don't have that capacity, the capability, we struggle. Since the material world cannot work independently, the living entities enter into the material manifestation in 4 different types of bodies. The word Chaturvidham is significant in this verse. There are 4 types of living entities born within this material world. Some are born by way of an embryo, Jarayuja. Some by way of eggs, Andaja. Some by perspiration, Svedaja. And some, like the trees, by way of seeds, Udbijja. So embryo. There's embryo, there's eggs, there's perspiration and seeds. Regardless of how these living entities appear, they're all busy in the pursuit of sense enjoyment. Right? Like the animals, the humans, they're coming from the embryo, right? Eggs, the birds are coming from the eggs, perspiration, there's so many germs. Then trees are coming by seeds. These are all living entities. And what are each of us doing here? Busy in the pursuit of sense enjoyment. A materialistic scientist contention that living entities other than human beings have no soul is nullified herein. Whether they are born through an embryo, eggs, perspiration, or seeds, all living entities in the 8,400,000 species of life are parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and each therefore is an individual spiritual spark and soul. So then, according to what we are reading, does it mean that the chicken has no soul?
The chicken has soul.
Yeah, it does. What about the cow?
Yeah, also.
Yeah. What about the plants?
Plants too have.
Also have soul. Yeah. What about the germs?
They too have. The germs too have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, anything that is breathing has a soul in it.
Yeah. All living entities. All living entities are souls. You know, we are just taking different kind of material bodies. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead also remains within the heart of the living entity, regardless of whether the living entity is a man, animal, tree, germ, or microbe. Yeah. So if suppose the one soul is inside the body of a pig, does it mean the Paramatma is there in the body of the pig along with the soul, or he's not there?
That Paramatma is there in every living entity.
Yeah, that's right. He's there. The Lord resides in everyone's heart, and because all living entities who come to this world do so in order to fulfill their desire for sense enjoyment, the Lord directs the living entities to enjoy their senses. So Krishna says, from him come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. As the Paramatma, he gives us this. He reminds us of our desire. Then he makes the arrangement by this material energy to be able to fulfill our desire. But the desire is ours. The choice is ours. What we desire, Krishna is not responsible for our desire. We are responsible for our desire. That's our choice. Thus, the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, knows everyone's desires As stated in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Sarvasya chaham vriddhi sanivishto, matasmitir jnanam apohanam cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So we may think that, oh, I'm the one, I'm the one. Because of me, somebody can remember things. Or I'm the one, I know I have all the knowledge. Or I have such a great memory. Or I never forget anything. But it's Krishna who's helping us with this. It's Krishna who's giving us the knowledge. Krishna who's giving us the remembrance. And also he's giving us forgetfulness. So we can pray to Krishna to help us to remember him, to give us the knowledge of our relationship with him. Remaining within the hearts of all living entities, the Lord bestows remembrance by which the living entities can enjoy certain things. Thus, the living entities create the enjoyable honeycombs and then enjoy them. The example of the bees is appropriate because when bees try to enjoy the honeycomb, they have to suffer the bites of other bees. Because bees bite one another and they enjoy honey, they are not exclusively enjoying the sweetness of the honey, but there is also suffering. In other words, the living entities are subjected to the pains and pleasures of material enjoyment, whereas the Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing their plans for sense enjoyment, is aloof from them. So also the example of the camel is given, that the camel eats the thorns and the thorns are pricking his tongue, and so the tongue is bleeding and the camel is enjoying and he's tasting his own blood and he's thinking, oh, so very nice. So this example is being given of the bees, that they're enjoying the honey but they are being bitten by other bees. So like that, in the material world there is suffering with the enjoyment. But the Paramatma, he has nothing to do with our enjoyment of this, In fact, he keeps giving us good. He wants us to come back home, back to Godhead. So he tries to keep giving us this knowledge. In the Upanishads, the example is given of two birds sitting on a tree. One bird, the Jiva, or living entity, is enjoying the fruits of that tree. And the other bird, Paramatma, is simply witnessing. In Bhagavad Gita 13.23, the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Paramatma is described as Upadrishta, the overseer, and Anumanta, the permitter. So how many souls are there inside our body?
Two. Two souls.
And who are
Atma and Paramatma.
Yeah, that's right. Atma and Paramatma, separate. So the Atma, we are trying to enjoy the fruit. Let me do this and I will enjoy it. I have done so much, so I deserve this. We are waiting for the fruits. Paramatma is just witnessing. He's waiting for us. When will we look toward him? And we are saying, oh, I did this, so I deserve this. Oh, I didn't do that, I don't deserve this. We are wanting to enjoy the fruits of our action. Thus, the Lord simply witnesses and gives the living entity sanction for sense enjoyment. It is the Paramatma also who gives the intelligence by which the bees can construct a hive, collect honey from various flowers, store it, and enjoy it. Although the Paramatma is aloof from the living entities, he knows their intentions and he gives them facilities by which they can enjoy or suffer the results of their actions. So intelligence, Krishna says, I'm the intelligence of the intelligent. Our intelligence comes from Krishna. The animals are also very intelligent. Who is giving them this intelligence? It's Krishna. The Paramatma is giving this intelligence. Human society is exactly like a beehive, where everyone is engaged in collecting honey from various flowers or collecting money from various sources and creating large empires for common enjoyment. However, after these empires are created, the bites of other nations have to be suffered. Sometimes nations declare war upon one another, and the human beehives become sources of misery. Although human beings are creating their beehives in order to enjoy the sweetness of their senses, they are at the same time suffering from the bites of other persons or nations. The Supreme Personality of Godhead as Paramatma is simply witnessing all these activities. The conclusion is that both the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Jivas enter into this material world. However, the Paramatma or Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipable because he has arranged for the happiness of the living entity in the material world. Because it is the material world, however, no one can enjoy any kind of happiness without inebriety. Inebriety. Material enjoyment means inebriety, whereas spiritual enjoyment means pure enjoyment under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Means inebriety means like drunken with the, we are in illusion, completely forgotten our selves. We are thinking we are the body. Spiritual enjoyment is the pure enjoyment because the soul needs enjoyment. It's the nature of the soul to enjoy. And the real enjoyment is in the spiritual world under the protection of God. Here we are thinking we are the body. We are completely in illusion. We become mad thinking we are the body and this infatuation with this material world. So the Paramatma is worshipable because he has arranged for the happiness of the living entity in the material world. Krishna is providing for us. Katha Upanishad says, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yovidadati Kama. There is one eternal who's maintaining all other eternals. So who's maintaining us? Krishna. Krishna is arranging for all our desires to be fulfilled. Is that okay? Did anyone have any question or any comment? Or anything to add?
Yeah, so material energy is separating us so much from Lord Krishna.
That's right. That's right. Then how to do? What shall we do?
Chant, hear and chant.
That's right. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. So, reading on. Sa esha lokan ati chandavego
Sa esha lokan ati chandavego
vikarshasi tvam khalu kalayane
vikarshasi tvam kalu kalayana
tani bhute anumeya tattvam
bhutani te anumeya tattvam
valirvayuriva vishayaha.
ganavalva
My dear Lord, your absolute authority cannot be directly experienced, but one can guess by seeing the activities of the world that everything is being destroyed in due course of time. The force of time is very strong, and everything is being destroyed by something else. Just as one animal is being eaten by another animal, time scatters everything exactly as the wind scatters clouds in the sky. The process of destruction is going on according to the law of nature. Nothing within the material world can be permanent, although scientists, philosophers, workers, and everyone else are trying to make things permanent. So, as there are laws in a particular country, there's laws in Taiwan, there's laws in Panama, there's laws in India. Similarly, there's law of the material world. And the law of the material world is that everything is temporary. No matter how much we try to sustain something, but it can't be there forever. One foolish scientist recently declared that eventually life will be made permanent through science. Some so-called scientists are also trying to manufacture living entities within the laboratory. Thus, in one way or another, everyone is busy denying the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and rejecting the supreme authority of the Lord. We may think, oh, I'm going to create a living entity. But then we are denying that the living entity is actually coming from the Lord. God is the one who's creating the living entities. We can't. Or we may say that I'm going to change the laws of this material world and make things permanent. But we can't, unable to. That's the law. However, the Lord is so powerful that he destroys everything in the form of death. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 10.34, Mrityu sarva charas chaha, sarva haras chaha. I am all devouring death. The Lord is just like death to the atheists, for he takes away everything they accumulate in the material world. So we may deny God does not exist, or we may say, I'm going to find a solution for death, or we may say, I'm going to create a living entity. And we may endeavor, but we are never going to be successful, and death is going to come and pull us out of this body, because that's the nature of the material world. That is the law of the material world. So Hiranyakashipu, the father of Prahlad, always denied the existence of the Lord, and he tried to kill his 5-year-old boy due to the boy's unflinching faith in God. However, in due course of time, the Lord appeared as Nrsimhadev and killed Hiranyakashipu in the presence of his son. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13, Text 47, this killing process is natural. Jivo jivasya jivanam. One animal is food for another animal. This is the law of the material world. A frog is eaten by a snake is eaten by a mongoose, and a mongoose is eaten by another animal. In this way, the process of destruction goes on by the supreme will of the Lord. So the laws of material nature, who is the lawmaker? Krishna. Everything is happening under his direction. Everything is happening under his will. Although we do not see the hand of the Supreme Lord directly, we can feel the presence of that hand through the Lord's process of destruction. We can see the clouds scattered by the wind, although we cannot see how this is being done, because it is not possible to see the wind. Similarly, although we do not directly see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we can see that he controls the process of destruction. The destructive process is going on fiercely under the control of the Lord, but the atheist cannot see it. So with time, everything gets devoured here in the material world. Everything deteriorates with time. Flower also, it's a bud, stays for some time, grows, blooms, fully beautiful flower. Then it starts wilting with time. Same with our body. Anything material, we buy the fruits also, we see it, they're so nice and fresh, but after a few days, they start getting stale. So this is the destructive process going on fiercely under the control of them. Even the material things, we see the body is material, the body ages, right? The soul never ages. The time has no deteriorating effect on the soul, because time is eternal, soul is eternal. But time deteriorates the material energy. And time is Krishna's form, impersonal form. Time I am, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. That's his impersonal form. It's a representative of Krishna, time.
Time
Is that
and
okay?
death, right? Yeah.
Yeah, time and death, yes. With time, everything deteriorates. Okay? So we are the souls, eternal souls. Somehow or the other we have forgotten Krishna. So we need to get out of here as soon as possible. And we hear and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We hear from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. So we'll stop here for today.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening and joining in. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.